With a yo-ho-ho, it's Tale of the Toaster, and if you're seeing this video, we have 11 new members of the Earth 11 to choose, both for the sake of my Let's Play and potentially your playthrough as well. So these bios are here to help you decide the best characters for doing so, or at least, if you want to pick your favourites, what their strengths and weaknesses are. So I've gone through all of the characters who are available in both Big Bang and Supernova as a result of a previous video, and we still haven't decided what the Let's Play team is going to be yet, but it is especially important that we go through the Big Bang exclusives, because those are the ones that I can use. Which ones you can use, I don't know, but hopefully this will be useful to various people, especially because the first bio that we're going to look at is quite objectively the single biggest no-brainer decision ever made out of all of these bios. Again, if you've not seen the previous ones, there's up to 55 characters that I'm going through over the course of Big Bang and Supernova, and each game will therefore have over 30 different choices, with half being in both and then half being exclusives. But if you are playing Big Bang, get Bailong. Just do it. I don't even need to tell you why you should need him, but I will go over it anyway to say not only why he's a contender for the best player in the game, but also I'll go over the most important reason why now. Let's take a look at that recruitment difficulty section, and please note that I have put the word impossible. If you are at this point of the game, halfway through the story, where you now get to add 11 new players to your team, and you have the option to add Bailong, this is possibly the only chance you're ever going to get. And if you're playing Supernova, just give up. You're not gonna have him. When I say it's impossible, it is technically possible to recruit him, but it is the last thing that you would ever do. His recruitment condition involves getting every other recruitment item in the whole game. I have some characters who have a recruitment difficulty of hard because they need 1 or 2 recruitment items, and Bailong needs them all. And by the time that you have them all, there will basically be no game left to play. So get Bailong here to save yourself the impossibility of just never being able to have him again. But also, why would you want him? Well, for starters, he's got White Wyvern as a fighting spirit, so White Breath is probably going to be the strongest thing you have access to on your entire team when you consider that his kick stat is 183. You can also Armorify him right away to get access to moves like White Hurricane at level 12, which is 160 power. He can Warp Step for Dribble at level 26. It's certainly expensive. When you have Bailong at lower levels, he will pretty much only be able to do one move when he's not Armorified. But you can Armorify him whenever you like, so have a Dragon Driver for a shot chain. Or even, at level 67 you can have Zero Magnum, which is not only 190 power, making it 10 points short of the strongest move in the game. Not only is it great for stunning goalkeepers, it's also a shot block. And if you've seen the ramble that I went over in the Axel bio, again I'll go over it very, very quickly, but shot blocks in this game are insane. If you have a shot coming towards you and then you have something like Zero Magnum, that rather than being a shot that weakens something like Vac Attack or Wall of Atlantis, if it's a shot and that shot is stronger than the ball that's coming towards you, which Zero Magnum will be because it's incredibly strong, oh, you'll just take the power that was already being applied to the ball before the shot block, take it for yourself, add on the power of Zero Magnum, and then long shot from anywhere on the pitch, while also possibly shot chaining along the way. This is how you reach the highest power scores in the game, outside of maybe using Grand Plan. Zero Magnum is busted. You can also... This is the single most busted thing about Bailong, which possibly makes him the best character in the whole game. Victor Blade is already on your team, So when you have access to Mixie Max in the post game, you can Mixie Max him with Victor Blade immediately. And when you do so, he comes with Spirit Big Moves, which is also the best skill in the game, because Big Moves for normal moves is, alright, it makes moves cost more TP to use, but then it adds like 20% more power on. I'm not sure if 20% is actually the number, but it makes moves slightly more expensive but more powerful. Spirit Big Moves does the same thing for your spirit shots, and when moves like White Breath have already been buffed from 200 power to 300 power, yeah, that's going to be possibly the strongest thing ever, especially when, because Spirit Big Moves is there via the Mixie Max, you can also get a move manual for Spirit Big Moves and put it in his moveset as well. And Spirit Big Moves does stack. So when you have White Breath with 2 Spirit Big Moves on someone who has 183 kickstat, Bailong is crazy. Or you could even just Mixie Max him with Chuga Liang so that he could have Thunder Taker again with excellent goalkeeper stunning. Or you could Mixie Max him with Tezcat just because it looks really pretty and, well, you know, if you're playing Supernova where Tezcat's actually the addition for the Earth 11, he will never have access to a Bailong to Mixie Max with because Bailong, once again, is impossible to recruit. So I won't ramble anymore. Just get him. Like, you'd be hindering yourself on purpose to not choose this guy, even if you don't want him. Get him anyway and then just give him to a friend. Seriously. So we're 2 bios into the Big Bang characters, and we've also hit the other character who is impossible to recruit. Quentin Cinquedea from Dragon Link does not have the same recruitment conditions as Bailong, but it does once again involve getting all of the recruitment items as just part of it. So it's like, no, if you want to recruit this guy on purpose, you won't. He is an option at this point of the game if you're playing Big Bang, and if you're playing Supernova, then tough luck. You are not going to get Quentin Cinquedea. And he's also a really good option. His catch stat is lower than that of Mark Evans, but it is higher than Terry, and he's got Crown Fire on White King. You can't Armor Fire until the post game, but I mean, once you do hit the post game, it's really not hard to do. All you do is pay some money to the Spirit Tokens guy, and then you get that ability. This only applies to the main story itself. The main thing to be aware of while using Quentin Cinquedea is that all 3 of his saving moves are actually punch-based. So if you want to actually catch the ball bare-handed, then you need to either use his Spirit, or you want to give him a move for that purpose, because Power Shield, Shot Stopper, and Crescent Cross, they will all blast the ball away. However, to be honest, I think that's better than catching the ball bare-handed anyway, especially when he's got the skill Mean Right Hook, which makes his ball punches go further. So when he does stop the shot, it will actually probably fly into the top half of the pitch. Quentin Cinquedea is a very unique goalkeeper from a gameplay perspective, but everything he's got is really good. 167 catch is brilliant, especially when he's got 230 freedom to boost it even further. But the main thing is just that if you don't recruit him now, you'll probably never get him ever. So I think that's the biggest sell of all. Whether you use him over Terry is another matter, but probably should get him. We have another pretty much no-brainer if you're looking for a good character. You could certainly turn this guy down because you don't like him, like you don't have to get him, but if you're looking for good players, Wolfram Vulpeen has a kickstat of 188, which is even higher than Bailong's. Without a doubt, it's one of the absolute highest kickstats in the whole game, and it is the highest kickstat out of everyone that we're going to be covering in these bios. The dribble stat looks tiny in comparison, but at 145, that's higher than Ricardo and Charisse, actual midfielders on your team. And he also has a fighting spirit with Burning Claws, which is actually a dribbling move. So you can use his fighting spirit for dribbling, and then armorify him whenever you want because he just has that right off the bat. And then when you're going for a shot, you can hit them with, just some of the strongest shots in the whole game. Werewolf Howl and Nocturne, they're both expensive, but they're 180 power. And again, remember, there are no shots in the game that go above 200 in power. And although this is a little bit weaker than those, it's actually got increased stun damage compared to Chrono Stones as well, so it's even better at disarming the goalkeepers. It's funny that Phantasmagoria is completely wasted on this guy because it's not a shot chain or a shot block, and it's weaker than Werewolf Howl and Nocturne, so it doesn't serve any purpose on Wolfram Vulpeen, but it's still a better move than some of these characters in these bios are gonna get in their entire lifetime. I know he also just has Format Disc, the strongest dribble in the game. Format Disc and Nocturne are both Void type moves, so they have no type advantages or type disadvantages, and that's mainly of note for Nocturne because it wasn't actually a Void type move before. It used to be an Air type move, but they made it Void. I mean, Dracul was always Earth Element and Wolfram was Fire, so it wasn't same type attack bonus for either of them anyway, but now it just kind of makes sense to do it this way. And of course, if you don't recruit him now, it's not going to be impossible like Bailong and Quentin Cinquedea, but it's still going to be really hard. And also, he has a genuinely useful Miximax that you can obtain relatively easily. We don't at this point of the game know what the terrible shadows are. We'll talk about them when they're actually relevant, but they are not especially hard to get. Wolfram Vulpeen, he's amazing. One of the highest kick stats in the whole game, and once again, if you're looking to properly cruise through the post-game and it's level 99 competition routes and that, he's just superb. So let's take things down a peg. Let's get rid of those post-game super boss characters and just talk about a guy. Here's Jack Wallside. He is our friend, and you can have him on the Earth 11 if you want him. He's solely there to boost the defense. Everything that he's got is some kind of wall with shot blocking capabilities. So you've got, starting with the cheapest, the wall only costs 8 TP now, while at the strongest, Iron Wall is part of his moveset for the very first time, and that is particularly powerful. I'm really glad to see that that's back in the game. It was reintroduced from Inazuma 11.3. He's not especially hard to get otherwise. He doesn't do Miximaxes or Fighting Spirits. He doesn't do anything other than blocking. But his actual block stat is the highest out of everyone in these bio videos except for Goldie, and including the players who are actually on the Earth 11 already, Trina has a higher block stat as well. But yeah, and with 240 freedom you can boost it even further, so Jack serves a single purpose, and that is blocking people, but he's very, very good at doing that. You just don't expect him to do anything else. Joseph King, meanwhile, I'm sad to say, is a complete throwaway choice. I like the guy and he is a fan favourite, so if you really want Joseph King on your team, then have him for the sake of having him, but if we're talking from an actual stats bio perspective, he is horrendous. He only has Power Shield, a 60 power saving move, until level 55. If you want to use this guy as your goalkeeper, he will only have one of the worst goalkeeping moves in the game until level 55, at which point you will have already long beaten the game. He has a good skill in Mean Right Hook to make the punches from Power Shield and Shot Stopper send the ball further, but you may already notice that Power Shield, Mean Right Hook and Shot Stopper are already available on Quentin Cinquedea, who, by the way, gets Shot Stopper at level 22 instead of 55. The weirdest thing about Joseph King is that the one move he has that Cinquedea doesn't is Snakebite, which he gets at level 58, and it's 80 power. It used to be one of the strongest goalkeeper moves in all of Go 1 because it belonged to Eternal Light's goalkeeper, but they just said, nah, snakes aren't meant to be good at goalkeeping, and they sliced it. It used to be 130 power and now it's 80. Shot Stopper has been buffed since previous games, but again, not only does Quentin Cinquedea have it, he's also got a fighting spirit, which Joseph King definitely doesn't. But most importantly of all, his catch stat of 149 is only higher than Sam's. Sam is the one character that stops Joseph King from being the lowest catch stat out of every goalkeeper in these bios. And it's by a considerable margin. The only way I can describe Joseph King is a B-Tech Quentin Cinquedea. He's an option, and that's the most I can say. Aphrodite is a much better one actually, but not one without his flaws. Mark and Axel are the only exceptions to the rule that anyone from the original trilogy will not have a fighting spirit. Those are the last ones to break the rule, so characters like Aphrodite don't have them, and they generally don't have Mixi-Maxes either. But the main thing to be aware of when using Aphrodite is that because he doesn't have a fighting spirit, that means that his moves are basically going to be one-off uses in every match that you play. His total TP is 152, which isn't nearly enough for him considering that all of his moves, Heaven's Time, God Knows, Athena's Anthem and Heavenly Drive, all cost 70 TP each. I should note that the stats in the box to the left portray the characters when they are at level 99. You won't be at level 99 until you get there. Therefore, to use more than a single move in a usage of Aphrodite, he needs to be at least level 90 before he has enough TP to use 2 moves in one go. He's definitely got good moves, and when you do use that move, it will undoubtedly be very useful to you. You just won't be doing anything else afterwards until he's either in the post game where you can give him a spirit, or he's in the high level 90s. Stats wise though, he is very, very good. He's met the criteria of kick, dribble and block all passing 100, with dribble in particular being 159. That's really good. Heavenly Drive is also a long shot that he gets at level 60, so that is perhaps the best thing that he's got here. But Heaven's Time is still one of the strongest dribbles in the game, and then Athena's Anthem is even stronger than that. It's great to see, God Knows, just because it's one of the most stylish things available. The only real downside is that his model looks very angry. It's based on like his Season 1 Zeus design. He's not kind of calmed down yet. I wish we had the more down-to-earth, less angry Aphrodite model that we could be using. But hey, he's not that great until he's maxed out in levels, but if you want him for those high levels, then do it, because it's Aphrodite, and he is a great fun one to use. Now we've got some Chronostones characters, and you know what? Alpha may already be one of my favourite characters in the series, but they also really balanced him very well to make him a great character at all stages of the game. When you're trying to pick your 11 players to use at this stage, the main thing you probably want to think about is who's going to be the best in the post-game for level 99 competition routes and such. If you intend to do those, certainly the main game is easy enough to beat no matter what team you're using. But Alpha will undoubtedly be a key player for your team at all stages of the game. Not only is he really, really good for the post-game because he's got Omega Assault, the strongest Void type shot in the game at 190 power and 157 kick to back it up, alongside good dribble and block. He's also got some really nice, inexpensive and good moves to use at the lower levels as well. Spin Meister is just there to be a cheap, bad, but available move straight away, and then Blast Mine is a nice cheap dribbling one as well at the cost of being high foul ratio. You probably want to replace that one later because it's overall the one that's going to age the poorest, but Gaussian Goal is a nice low level shot chain move to have before eventually he's going to get Omega Assault. But of course, the main thing to again point out is he has a fighting spirit. It's called Feng Huang, and Firebird Flight is a very good shot indeed, and you can armorify him. So not only do you have all these low cost moves to use at low levels and then better moves to use at higher levels, you can do them all anyway because you've got the ability to armorify Alpha and his very, very good kick stat. I don't exactly want to give away all 11 players that I'm going to be picking for my Let's Play team, but I think it's very, very clear that Alpha is going to be one of them. Beta, meanwhile, is another extremely good choice for anyone to use. Her kickstat is ever so slightly lower than Alpha's, but most of her other stats are higher. Dribble's very good, technique, speed, and her actual fighting spirit, Athene, and its move, Athenian Assault, is probably a little better than Alpha's, I will admit, and she can armorify them anyway. She's got Fission and Fusion straight away, so she can do long shots immediately. She's clearly less balanced TP-wise than Alpha, who was clearly meant to be an early game first boss in Chronostones, but she will still get Omega Assault at the very end of it, as will all of the Protocol Omega captains. Above all, if you're thinking of making a Let's Play of Inazuma 11 GO Galaxy, she'll sure drive the clicks up on your videos. That is a legitimate factor to consider if you're wanting to put Beta on your team. Overall, though, the Protocol Omega players were definitely scaled in terms of skill, because Gamma is probably the best one of the three. He's not as easy to use during the main story because, well, when you consider that his moves cost that much TP to use, yeah, you'll be using them one time only unless he is armorified. But again, he can do that, so do it. Apart from the armorifying though, Lycoon is probably the least useful spirit of the three, just because Forked Edge is a dribbling move, but he already has Format Disc, the strongest dribble in the whole game. He probably would have been better off with a shot, but hey, he's going to get Omega Assault anyway, and he does have the highest kickstat out of the three at 159. He's also the only one with the best Miximax if you want to get Zanuck Avalonic. But Zanuck is not one of the characters that you can get at this point of the game. We have 55 character bios in total, but Zanuck is not one of them. And if you've taken one look at Zac Avalon, you can probably guess why. But Zac Avalon does not count as Zanuck Avalonic. You cannot Miximax Gamma with Zac Avalon. Well, you can, but you don't get the best Miximax reward for it. But it's worth keeping in mind. Oh, and also, Atomic Spin is a long shot now. It wasn't in Chronostones, but it is now. And it's stronger than Beta's one. You'll probably want to get rid of Technique Boost and swap it for something better in the post-game, but that's the only disadvantage. Gamma is just a great, great option. Which brings us to a more down-to-earth pick, as it were, and David Samford. I don't know what they were thinking with his moveset. Yeah, let's see. Okay, he's got Emperor Penguin number 2 at level 5. That's a great powerful shot to start him off with. It's a shot chain as well. Level 17, he gets a skill, Helping Hand. Okay, not very useful, but sure. When does he get his next move? Oh, at level 60? So if you're going to use David Samford, he basically has one move for the whole game. I hope you like Emperor Penguin number 2. I also hope you're not already using Jude, who will already have that move, because David Samford is the epitome of a one-trick pony for your playthrough. When he does hit level 60, he gets Emperor Penguin 7 as a long shot, which has also been considerably buffed. It used to only be 100 power in previous games, now it's 160, so I really appreciate that they made possibly my favourite Emperor Penguin move a lot better. And they've also given him a dribbling option to kind of reference the role he played in Inazuma National. In Season 3, he now gets Black Tide Ride, which was Ryoma Nishiki's Miximax move with Ryoma Sakamoto. You don't have the Miximax with Ryoma Sakamoto in this game, so actually David Samford is a much easier way to get Black Tide Ride than actually using Roma. But at the end of the day, he's a forward with no fighting spirit, no best Miximaxes. His kickstat is 149, which is just fine. His dribble and block is again okay, not particularly fast or anything. He is just there for the David Samford fans. He'll eventually get some good moves, but, he was never meant to be amazing. And someone else with a fairly disappointing moveset would be Hurley Kane. Mainly just because Tsunami Boost still isn't in the Go games, and it never will be. It's probably the most iconic shooting move to not be in the Go games, or at least it's well up there. He does have the Typhoon, which is nice it means Hurley Kane does actually have one of his own signature moves, but it's not brilliant. It's 90 power, it's good for the early game, but not much else. But then he does have a move that's been brought back from the third game to give him a new option that wasn't there before, but it's Megalodon, which he learns at level 40, and it's weaker than the Typhoon. You have Typhoon at level 1, which is decent, and then you wait until level 40 to get something better. It's not going to be Tsunami Boost. Okay, you can have Megalodon, and it's much worse. And then you just tap it off with Air Boost, which is, like, helpful. His moveset is built like a forward, but the one move he's got here which actually matters is Whirlpool, which thankfully he does get at level 24, and his block stat is 144. So although he doesn't have much to make him a defender, what he does have is thankfully very, very useful. You probably want to give him some kind of long shot. It's never going to be Tsunami Boost, but just play him like you used to. Do some blocks with Whirlpool and then fire it off with some other move, because he does have 135 on his kick stat, which helps. You know what else he doesn't have? Official artwork. Come on, man, give me something. Meanwhile, Dave Quagmire, I probably wish he didn't have official artwork, because now he looks like this. Oh dear. He's also an extremely confusing one to talk about, because this is based on his Inazuma 11-3 mode, where he's done being Dvalin the goalkeeper, he's done being Dvalin the forward, he's not quite the Orion, I can get on the pitch if I'm a defender, but I mainly just want to be a goalkeeper that I'm never going to get to do. This is the midfielder, Dave Quagmire. But his dribble stat is only 112. His highest stat is a tie between 126 on kick and catch. It is nice that he does still have a fairly high catch stat to represent him being formerly a goalkeeper, but I think they deserve to give him more. Like, yes, he's officially a midfielder, so you want to try and treat him as such, but his catch is still lower than every actual goalkeeper's in these bios. Sam has more, Joseph King has more, and those are kind of the meme options in comparison to the likes of Mark Evans, Terry, and Quentin Cinquedea. I wish you could use him as a goalkeeper if you were given the choice, but he's just not really good enough. However, his moveset definitely plays to his strength. He gets Gungnir immediately as a long shot option, and eventually, for his midfielding purposes, he will get Decoy Deploy, one of the better dribbling moves in the game. You can have Blast Mine until you get there, and even God Knows is a nice fun shot to have later on, which is technically something he's done before. To cut it short, Dave Quagmire isn't great. He's a jack of all trades, and that's generally what you don't want to be in Inazuma 11, but he's versatile enough to make him fun to use. Another really questionable midfielder is Victoria Vanguard, who doesn't even have any dribbling moves. I think we always kind of saw Tori as a defender because she gets the tower and perfect tower in the original games. Now she's got the tower at level 1, which is as good as ever, but she's also got Ogliteration at level 57, the strongest block in the whole game. And indeed, she does actually have a higher block stat than Dribble at 117 versus 115. Really, I think they made her a midfielder just because she has shots. She's got Butterfly Trance here, which is the best it's ever been, because not only is it 130 power, it's also a shot block. So if you do put Tori in the defence, not only can she use Ogliteration as the strongest block in the game, she can also block long shots that are coming towards her with Butterfly Trance and then fire it back at you with her 123 kick stat. She's not a good midfielder, but she is a good defender. Her block stat isn't brilliant. You'll probably want to pour all of that 220 freedom into just making her better at defending and kicking, maybe even at the expense of dribble. Yeah, she's a real technicality midfielder, but she is a good option. Torch, meanwhile, is perhaps the best he's ever been. 167 on kick is really good. Just a shame then that his moveset is basically a hybrid of Sol Daystar and Wolfram Vulpeen. It feels very wrong to say that because Atomic Flare was always his move, and it's just the likes of Sol, Wolfram, and Axel who stole it from him. Yes, Wolfram can still get Atomic Flare if you Mixie Max him with the terrible shadows, But you will want Atomic Flare, obviously, because it's a shot block, it's really strong, it makes Torch very good. Just Wolfram and Soul can also do it with the ability to bring out spirits and Mixie-Maxes. Torch is just basically being punished for being an older character. However, he has in turn stolen something from Wolfram for himself in the form of Werewolf Howl at 180 power. That's brilliant. And he's taken Plasma Cut from Soul, which in turn is one of the better dribbling options for him. At 130, it's not like the strongest, but he's not meant to be a midfielder. You don't want his moves to be too expensive. Plasma Cut at 55 TP is really, really useful, and he gets Fire Boost as a skill to make all three of those moves even better. Genuinely, Torch is great. He's definitely not better than Soul or Wolfram, but Soul is not in Big Bang, Soul is in Supernova, so this is the closest you're gonna get. Just a shame then that Wolfram is in Big Bang, so whichever game they put Torch in, he'd always be a B-Tech of someone. Austin Hobbes kind of keeps that trend going, where indeed, Phantasmagoria is the strongest shot in his arsenal. At 150 power, it's good, but then you look at Wolfram Vulpeen, who has Phantasmagoria as his third strongest shot, and you realise, yeah, this world wasn't built equally. Austin Hobbes was only going to be so good. But 154 kick is good, certainly. Tiger Drive as a long shot at level 1 is really, really helpful. Big Ball Trick goes a long way from a dribbling perspective. But just the main selling point is that if you don't get him now, he's actually really quite hard to get, because you need to get item drops from 2 different post-game competition route matches, and you need to have at least 25 special tactics, which you get through any various method. But yeah, if you want to have Austin Hobbes and you don't get him now, you probably won't have him for quite some time, so definitely consider that. Paolo Bianchi actually becomes playable in the main story of an Inazuma 11 game for the first time, which is nice, and he will be carrying across Odin's Sword, his signature move, but then his other shot is Fission and Fusion, for which we've already got Beta in the same game. Cool Up is nice to have as a skill. Again, he's not the only character to have this. Inline Stampede as a dribble is his unique option, but I'll tell you what, through playing Chrono Stones, I made myself sick of that move. I had it on like 5 different characters because it was there as a free DLC download, and I frankly never want to see it again. It is very good though as a Void type dribbling move. It's not quite as strong as Decoy Deploy, and definitely not as strong as Format Disc. It's kind of funny how Paolo Bianchi is built more like a midfielder by the end of it, but at 157 kick, that's decent, just not exemplary, no gimmicks like Spirits or Mixie-Maxes. He's not especially easy to recommend from an objective point of view, but it is nice that he is carrying on his version exclusivity from Lightning Bolt and now can finally be played in a main story for the first time. Now Mark Krueger, I'm just surprised that he's here at all. Yes, he's the captain of the American team in Season 3, but he's really not one of the most remembered characters in comparison to some of the guys that we've been looking at before. Especially when Eric Eagle is going to be one of the Supernova exclusives anyway. Bobby isn't one, but Mark Krueger is. Bobby fans crying and shaking right now. But weirdly, Mark's actually kind of decent. Pronto Pass is one of the better skills in the game from a competitive player's perspective, and Crisscross has been buffed quite a lot as well. While he also does the Kaiser approach and says, yes, I want Splitting Hairs to be my new really powerful shot. But I mean, it's a good choice. 170 power and just stylishly and lore-wise, one of my favourite moves in the series actually. Snowstorm Leopard is there as well as a shot chain. Like, this guy's pulling absolutely any move you can think of. It's very clear that because they don't have the whole unicorn stuff to represent with any of the moves in this game, they just gave him whatever they wanted, and somehow it works out as a nice package, because he's ultimately got 149 on dribble, decent stats elsewhere. Again, he's not going to be better than like a Wolfram or a Bailong or most of the existing Earth 11, but he's probably a character that you've never used before, so he's got that going for him from a unique appeal kind of perspective. I'm not going to lie, from me as a Let's Player, I'm kind of tempted. Can you tell I haven't thought which 11 I'm gonna go for yet? Our last Big Bang exclusive is Canon Evans, and well, I hope you like Fission and Fusion because you can have it on Beta, Paolo Bianchi and Canon Evans. Again, it's a good move, but I've talked about it 3 times already. He's also got another long shot in the form of Plasma Ball. Again, I don't know why this guy who fought against Team Ogre in the future is exclusively taking moves from Protocol Omega, except his final shot, Dimensional Deluge, he's nicked from the Desperados, an even more villainous organisation. It's a good job though, because Asta from the Desperados is not a recruitment option among these player bios, and it was way too weak in Chrono Stones. It was only 150 power, now it's got the strength it deserves at 190, and look at that B icon, it's a shot block. That means that out of nowhere, Canon Evans is really good. Sure, that's based mainly on his moveset, and again, movesets are the most customizable aspect of a character. You can, in theory, get a move manual for almost any move in the game and give it to anyone you want. But from what he's got to work with, Canon Evans has got some great stuff. And although none of his stats are particularly high, none of them are particularly low either, so he's got the means to make it work. I do just wish, from a gameplay perspective, why did they wait until level 50 to give him Big Ball Trick? That's a long time to wait. So essentially, for the actual story up until beating the game, he's pretty much going to be a dedicated long shooter. But if that's what you want, Canon's rather good at that. But that is it for the Big Bang exclusive Earth 11 recruits. Click to the video on wherever it is to look at the characters who are available in both versions of the game. Again, if you're playing Big Bang, you want to choose from these characters and the ones who are available in both when coming up with your perfect 11. Meanwhile, if you click over to the right, is it on the right? I don't know, but click through to the Supernova video to see all of the exclusive options found only within that game for your team to make the best Earth 11 that you can, or just the Earth 11 that you like the most. You don't have to have good players. I might use Mark Krueger. I think I will have to use Mark Krueger at this point, huh? See you in another video.